Damian Bartoni here on behalf of Fox West Texas and the official host of MMA Monday, the only MMA show in San Angelo. Look, I love fighting just like all of you, right? And I'm so excited to talk to this fighter, fresh out of Dallas, Mesquite, Texas, a guy that I actually saw fight in San Antonio. He didn't pick up the victory, but it was a great scrap, someone that I love to watch fight. Austin Lingo. Austin, my boy, you got a fight coming up? Tell me how you're feeling right now, my friend.
Yes, sir. I feel great. I feel, man, better than I ever have before. I'll tell you that especially after that loss, man. I've been grinding so hard every day. It's work, but
yeah,
it's what I needed.
But yeah, you were really in a tough spot heading into that bout because you had some cancellations going on, right? For really like a year and a half, you weren't as active as you'd like to be. You had some canceled bouts, you had some pullouts, you had someone miss weight by 8 pounds, so you weren't even able to fight, and then you had to pick up technically you're in shape, but mentally you're not in shape because you think you're not gonna fight, right? So you went through so much, man. Tell me how refreshing it is to finally feel like you're in a season now and you're finally in your rhythm.
Man, it feels great, honestly, because that sucked. It was like a 2-week notice, and then like having a camp before a fight preparing for somebody is a whole different thing than instant notice, quick notice like that. So yeah, I love it. I love being back in the flow of things and just love being here, man.
Yeah, it seems like you're very much so grateful to not only be here and be in the UFC, but also, like I said, have that ability to string together some performances, right? Have the ability to actually put some camps together that actually pay off, right? Even though you had a tough loss to Nate Landwehr back in San Antonio back in March, I was there for that event actually. I will say, man, it just seems like it's very, very hard to judge where you are because, man, you haven't had the chance to be so active because of everything that's been going on, man. You've had people pulling out on you. You had weight misses, and not only that too. This sport is full of injuries. You're fighting in the middle of COVID, right? Your first UFC event is a month before everything shuts down. Tell me a little bit, bro. How has that journey been like for you?
Man, that sucked, honestly, because after that it was I'm in the UFC now, and then everything shut down. I was like, oh no, now there's no crowd, now there's no, it sucked because I love having a crowd, I love hearing the fans, it was just I worked my whole life, and it's all of a sudden I couldn't fight in front of a crowd, exactly what I wanted, but I knew it was going to work out for the best, because fighting with no crowd, the smaller ring was kind of I liked it, it wasn't too bad, so it had its ups and downs.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say too, for someone like you that's very balanced, you can definitely take multiple approaches, and even, if a fight goes a certain way in the smaller cage, I feel like you can still kind of work to your advantages. And speaking of your balanced attack, you're someone that I admire in terms of, like I said, his ability to win in multiple ways. You're not like an offense in football where all it is just passing the football, right? You can submit people, you can knock people out, or you can grind people out and win a decision. And your 2 wins in the UFC have been by decision, but they haven't been close. They're pretty clear 30-27 decisions. Tell me, man, mentally, what is that like for you to go through in a contest like that where I know you're anticipating the finish, but even though you don't get it, does it feel as satisfying for you to still pick up the victory even though you didn't get a finish?
Man, it feels really satisfying because it's you grind, you do that the whole fight. It's after the fight, you get your hand raised and you just feel that victory, man. It's I just grinded for that. It wasn't like a 30-second fight.
Yeah.
That was freaking 15 minutes. That was hard.
Yeah, well, it seems like that because some people have different approaches. Some people are like, oh, when I don't get that finish, it's like, man, what do I have to do to, get this guy out of here? But in your case, when you're breaking people down like that, and that's something that I've learned through practicing jiu-jitsu myself, is, man, when you're in those 5-minute rounds, and this is just jiu-jitsu, but, you're at the 3-minute mark, and I'm fresh as a daisy, feeling good, man, I know when the other person's kind of gassed, you're like, man, this is a very successful round. Even if I don't get the submission here, I'm winning this round. You know what I mean? So I definitely can relate to you. And I want to talk a little bit about, circling back to kind of your upbringing and what got you here, right? So obviously I know you were born in Mesquite, you were kind of raised in Dallas, right? Kind of in that area, that vicinity. Tell me, man, I mean, I can only talk about how awesome Texas is. Tell me how you feel about Texas, how you feel about the great state, and the pride you feel fighting out of Texas.
You know, I love Texas, man. I've lived here my whole life, so it's like, that's all I know, you know, and it's great because, you know, I see people fighting out of all these other places, or like they live here and then they come to Texas just to train. I'm like, I feel blessed, you know, we're at the best gym in the world right now, and it's here in Texas. It's out of Dallas, you know, so I mean, hey, can't get better than that, you know. And it's where I'm from, so I'm like, yes, thank you.
Well, you were able, you actually, because I know you liked Muay Thai a lot, and you actually trained. Didn't you train in Thailand at some point, at some stage, just to like learn the art? Is that correct?
Well, I was at the World Championships. I was fighting on the USMF team or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Olympic team this year. It's gonna be but it wasn't the Olympics then. But it's the same team. But I was 15. I was the youngest on the team, and I was training with them. And they took us out there, I think 2 weeks early, and we trained at a Muay Thai camp out there for a good week or two. So it was really good training.
Bro, looking back, you said you were 15, so 13 years later. Can you believe, like, this is where you're at? Like, that's so crazy, bro.
I know, man. Yeah. It definitely makes me like realize where I'm at now, and I'm like, just gotta go harder than I did, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's just so interesting because, bro, people never get there. Like, you know, if you would have told me, because I'm 25 now, I just turned 25 in May. But man, I grew up like really afraid of not confrontation, but I don't know, it was just weird. But then I started growing up and I started kickboxing and then jiu-jitsu, and now, man, all I do is love to fight. You know, it's my favorite thing in the world. Even though I'm on TV, you know, 4 or 5 times a week, right? I love fighting. There's nothing that'll replace that love for me. And looking at your story, it's so interesting because you've liked so many forms of martial arts, right? I know you liked boxing a lot, then Taekwondo, which you're a black belt in, and then kickboxing, and Muay Thai. Tell me, when did you start to get that bite, that itch of like, hey, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do for my life.
You know, when I was about 14 or 15, I sparred the 3-time silver glove world champion for like a good year. He gave me about 3 or 4 concussions, and my dad was like, "You sure you want to do this?" And I was just like, well, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And well, if you want to, then we're gonna keep you in here. But he was like, you know, if you don't want to, you can't keep getting concussions and keep doing all this. I was just like, yeah, this is what I want to do, you know?
Yeah.
So we
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, we just kept going. We just kept pushing. I pushed myself to the most.
Well, that's so crazy because your parents, because I can tell, I'm sure your parents were like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, you know, it's probably not easy for a parent to hear that their son wants to fight for a living, right? And get hit like that. But you've made so much out of yourself, and you're still very young in the sport. I feel like you're still, in my opinion, at least 2 or 3 years away from your prime. You're still very, very young. Even though you're very seasoned, you've been fighting for forever. I feel like people's MMA primes are typically in their early 30s to mid 30s. That's what at least I feel. Do you feel the same way that you're not yet at your prime, but you're starting to approach your best fights?
Definitely. They will. I think about 30, I'll be top of my game, man. I'll be the best of the best. You know, I've grinded to the top 15. You know, that's the goal. So I think when I'm 30 or so, that's where I'll be.
And I mean, and even then, man, you know, I just got a couple more for you, but even then, you know, you fought Nate the Train back in March, right? You didn't pick up the victory there, but you're fighting very tough opponents. Even your next opponent, very tough. Another very balanced attacker, someone that can knock you out, someone that can submit you, that can grind to a decision. For you, whenever you're breaking these fights down and you're breaking the ability to say, hey, maybe, you know, this is an avenue for success, or maybe this is. Whenever you look at this upcoming fight, I'm not going to ask for your whole game plan, but what I am going to ask is, do you feel like you're going to put on a show? Do you feel like this is a fight that, hey, you can really start to solidify yourself as maybe that up-and-comer, someone that's right on the edge of that top 15?
Definitely, man, definitely. Because, you know, he likes to stand up just like me. He likes to mix it up just like me. So, I mean, I think it's gonna be a great fight, man. It's definitely gonna be like showing my skill, you know, showing everything how well-rounded I am in every aspect, you know. So I think, and my cardio now is just, you know, it's great. So.
Yeah. Well, what's some of the biggest differences from your previous camp compared to this one? Because obviously the camps were still good, but like we were talking about, man, you had so much to go through, so many mental obstacles on top of physical because you just didn't know when you were going to get another scrap. So tell me, what were some of the biggest differences from that previous camp to now this where we are right now?
I mean, I wasn't training as much as I do now, like and cardio and strength-wise, like doing strength conditioning and all that in the morning, and then going to like an afternoon striking class, and then doing sparring at night. That's what I'm doing now. So it's like I'm doing three times what I was doing, you know. So it was like just a striking class or something before, you know, like the bare minimum versus the maximum, you know, plus some. So I think that's definitely.
Bro, that just reminds me of like when Charles Oliveira's like, I don't know if you're I'm a huge Charles Oliveira fan, huge. And he was talking about what changed for him in MMA really was the stuff he was doing maybe once or twice, he started doing 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And it seems like it isn't until you kind of reach that lower point in your career or in your life where you start to realize, okay, maybe I need to be doing this. Maybe I thought I was doing the most. I was mistaking habit for hard work. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, I feel like a lot of us get into that kind of that path. But I'm very excited to see you go, man, because I know your potential. You're someone that I've watched in LFA before. And I was, you know, it was my first time ever as a media member at the UFC event in San Antonio. And I feel like that wasn't the best, you know, lights out that I've seen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I only got a couple more for you, man. As we're starting to wrap this episode up a little bit, you look good. Weight looks good. Everything looks like you're good to go. We're about 3 weeks out. Tell me, are you getting a little nervous or a little bit of butterflies, or no? Are you cool as a cucumber right now?
I'm cool as a cucumber, man. It's like those days are past. I feel like that. I wish I still got butterflies and stuff. That stuff, but it's really just I'm ready. You know, I just know it. So it's like, you know, I know how I felt before previous fights, but this fight I feel better than all of those. So it's like, let's go.
Yeah, you're just ready to get in there. Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. My last one for you, brother, as we wrap this one up. Obviously, big fight coming up July 15th, right? Huge card. You're sharing a card with the likes of Holly Holm, who's an absolute legend. You're sharing a card with an up-and-comer at 155 that a lot of people like, and Terrence McKinney, right? You have so much going for you. Let's say you walk out victorious, you have your hand raised and everything like that. Are you gonna feel a sense of like finally, like, you know, it's been 2 years since you won a fight, on paper at least. Are you gonna finally get that feeling? Like, have you envisioned what that's gonna feel like?
Definitely, man. Just waking up the next day, that's what I can't wait for. You know, it's like getting that victory, and then when you wake up and you're like, I didn't do that last night. You know, it's like that's the moment I wait for. Getting that hand raised and just remembering it. It's like, man, holy crap.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you again, man, for coming on. I didn't want to take up too much of your time, and you were very gracious, and I very much so appreciate it. If you have anything that you want to let the viewers know, please feel free, bro. The floor is yours.
Hey, you know, shout out Fortis MMA, you know, my fam, my wife, everybody that helps me, you know, get to where I am and get to where I want to be. So, grateful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, with Fox West Texas, I'm Damian Bartonic, signing out.